Welcome to the X Podcast. I'm Xiomara Sosa, your host. Every week, we speak to our community members to teach them about mental health through education and awareness. Our hope is to inspire them through social change advocacy. We also bring on community members and other mental health professionals, advocates, students, and others in the mental health and related professions. Our podcast style is storytelling. Everyone has a mental health story to tell. The information shared in this podcast is not a substitute for seeking help from a licensed mental health professional and is not a substitute for psychological diagnosis or treatment. This podcast is for educational awareness and social change advocacy purposes only. If you find yourself in a mental health crisis or in distress, please dial 911 or go to your nearest emergency room. Welcome everyone to the X Podcast, Real Conversations about Mental Health. This is episode 58, and today's topic is online stalking and harassment. Or some other form of that, because there's all these different words that constitute where I'm going with this. But basically, the stalking and the harassment is what we're going to be talking about. So I'm your host, Xiomara Sosa, creator and executive director of this podcast. Our mission is to educate our communities and listeners about mental health and inspire them through social change advocacy. As a social scientist and social change advocate, I strive to have real conversations on this podcast about all things related to mental health. I'm a clinical mental health counselor, national board certified counselor, a licensed professional counselor, and a clinical supervisor in South Carolina. As a holistic therapist, my approach is inclusive and culturally competent. My counseling specialty is clinical mental health. My clinical focus areas are anxiety disorders, depressive disorders, gender dysphoria and trauma, and stressor-related disorders. My areas of specializations are integrative mental health, multicultural counseling, and women's mental health. So as a United States military veteran who served in the Air Force and Army, I celebrate diversity, I honor and promote equity, and I really value inclusivity in all communities, especially marginalized communities. I'm the founder and clinical director of Somerville Women's Mental Health Services, which is a teaching practice here in the Low Country of South Carolina. I'm also the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called the X Studio, a mental health cooperative, a place where mental health interns and licensed professional counselor associates can start their journey as the next generation of professional mental health clinicians. So, I always say that I'm going to explain why I say all of that. Tonight's topic is a really big reason why I do, because when online stalking and harassment happened to me, one of the things that they went after was my credentials, my ability to do my job, all of these things. And when that happened, the story did not end that well for this person. And I'm not going to mention this person, not because they're in the right and I'm in the wrong, but because I don't want my lawyer bogged down with bullshit right now, because we're about to end some things, and I don't want him distracted. And I know these people will do that. I know this person will do that, so I'm not going to do that. But at the end of the day, we're going to talk about my experience, and we're going to do it anonymously to protect my poor lawyer from getting his time wasted on nonsense. But know that all of this is official. All of this is valid. All of this is recorded, and all of this is also public knowledge. So I'm not making anything up, regardless of what anybody else, however anybody else wants to spin it. And I'm really not here to bash that person. I'm really here to do educational stuff for people who are experiencing this, because this is something that is happening now wildly on the internet, just wildly because of the circumstances of our country, and the internet is what it is, which is where people go to do these things. So, all right, so today I'm joined by my co-host, J-Rock, so I'm gonna let him introduce himself, and then Nicole is also back again, and she's gonna talk about this topic near and dear to her heart, too. And so let's get with it.
All right, well, yes, I'm J-Rock, a co-host and a technical advisor for the podcast, and one thing about me, I'm a big audiophile. I've been doing professional broadcasting for about 20 years, and the thing that I love the most is all about self-growth, and I'm trying to learn and unlearn a lot of stuff every day. So obviously being a part of this podcast has been a privilege, and yeah, just learning stuff all the time. I have notes from like previous episodes that I constantly look to from time to time just to make sure. And yeah, no, I just love being a part of this. So thank you.
It's almost like your own little therapy.
It
personal
is
therapy, like without it being actual therapy.
Right. It's
like
just
a little support group.
Exactly. It's all filled in my notes.
All the fellas feel that way.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, and I'm Nicole. I'm a proud member of the X Studio Intern Co-op. I am a clinical mental health doctoral student and a certified integrative behavioral health practitioner who is working on getting my licensing in South Carolina to practice independently, and that's why I'm part of the co-op. And also happy to be on the podcast. I'm formerly an educator, and before that, a nonprofit executive. So I have kind of a diverse background.
And that's what we love here.
Place. Yes. So we like being here, and I don't want to say I'm excited to talk about cyberstalking because it's nothing really. It's not a super exciting topic, but I do think it is something that happens to lots of folks. We don't know how necessarily to handle it or how to handle the mental health issues that come around it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's great to have some real transparent conversations about what that looks like, feels like.
And it's been so normalized. People they normalize this behavior until they realize that no, there are consequences, and then they like want to backpedal. That's number one. And number two is like one of the reasons this came up is because one of the recordings that we did with Nicole on here, and it was not even about anything that had to do with anything.
Nope.
It was like
About
politics
protesting. It was
and protesting and mental health. And I got on the YouTube channel, I got a random, like 4 or 5 random comments on there from the same person back to back, and it was all about Nicole. And it was like stupid nonsense about Nicole.
Okay.
So like luckily I knew some of her story already. So like from the first babble, I was like, oh, I know who this is because I recognize this kind of behavior. So and then I went on and on to read, and this person named her specifically out of all of us that were on that podcast that day, pointing her out with all the personal stuff, nothing to do with the podcast, nothing to do with professional, nothing to do with anything. And so I was like, okay, I know what I'm going to do with this. And I did exactly what I knew what to do because it happened to me and I knew what to do. Different. It was different, but
the same.
But I don't tolerate that shit. And then in the same week, I got a random text from somebody about one of my other therapists who hasn't even started yet. They don't even start until July, but some person found that they were going to be a therapist under my supervision and decided that it made sense for them to text me and then be, I don't know, weird about I don't know if I told you. Oh yeah, you saw that by mistake, right? Yeah. And it was like, hi Xiomara, so-and-so, your therapist. I was wondering if we can have a conversation about that, but it needs to be on text, and that's the part I found weird, and blah, blah. So basically they would, you're stalking her if you found me and you know where she's at. Yeah. And then instead of doing this through the right channels, you're coming to me like I'm supposed to align myself with you, break all of my ethics and everything. And we handled it. It was fine. The person got nowhere. I don't know if it's legitimate or it wasn't legitimate. It could have been a legitimate reason that they want to come after I didn't find any legitimacy to it, and it was also wildly inappropriate because this person was never under my supervision while that person was supposedly dealing with them. I don't like. It was just messy, right?
Yeah.
But I just know that it wasn't my business, and it was some other thing, and it was confidential stuff, like it was personal confidential stuff, right? And so I reiterated that over and over and said that I am not the correct person, this is wildly inappropriate, there's confidentiality things, and we had a conversation back and forth, and then they said that they're talking to a lawyer, and like all these things that are supposed to like make my therapist feel
correct,
like she's somehow, and I didn't do that. I did not align with that person, but I did talk to the therapist. Turns out that they don't even know who this person, like the therapist does not know who that person is or anything. There are other therapists with her name.
The name.
And all that stuff. We don't know, we don't care. All I know that it was wildly inappropriate, and it wasn't even about trying to fix something. Because if you're already seeing a lawyer and you're already talking to a lawyer, the very first thing the lawyer would have told you is don't go messing with. Please don't mess with.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You know, and you're doing the exact opposite of what an attorney would tell you to do, right? So that prompted Nicole and I to say, well, maybe we should have this conversation. Maybe I'm ready to have that conversation.
Okay.
So we're going to have that conversation today. So what I'm going to be reading from are I'm going to read a public statement from February 25th, 2024, and it's on my professional social media accounts. And when I spoke to my board, when I spoke to my liability insurance, when I spoke to my attorney, when I spoke to the police officers, they all said, do this. And I did this. And they said, leave it on there. And I left it on there. And there are reasons that I don't even care what the reasons were that they all said, leave it on there, but I left it on there. My supervisor said, listen to the board. You know, like, just leave it on there. It protects you. Because my point was to protect my clients against the backlash of what this person was doing and not even thinking about what they were doing. Because they were just trying to rattle me and get me what do they call it? A smear campaign against me and all that kind of stuff. But the way so I'm going to read this statement because this is public information. It is on my accounts. It is still on there because I still don't trust the behavior, because even when this was all said and done, they moved on to some other behavior that involved a niece of mine that was just basically vicariously through them. So now that's all ended and it's not happening anymore, but you just never know. Like what's what. Right. So, all right, so this is the public statement that I had that's out there based on what I experienced. Official public statement regarding my online stalker and harassment. 2/28/24 update. In a good faith effort, I have agreed to remove this original update in exchange for securing the safety and well-being, my family's safety and well-being, and the safety and well-being of my clients. It will remain archived as documentation in case I needed it. The good faith effort was that I removed reference to who this person was. I never mentioned their name because I didn't have to. They were tagging me all over the place, so people knew. But when I said their relationship to my family, apparently they got nervous because now everybody can figure out what that relationship is. Because it's like by deducing. So in good faith, I did that. And in exchange, what I asked for was to leave my family alone, never go near my family, leave me alone, just stay away, just no contact, zero contact. And then instead of that, they went and moved on to like my niece's job, and then that was the thing. But it's end is consent. So that's what that little comment was. But the actual statement is, according to Durham University, the definition of online harassment is, online harassment can be defined as the use of information and communication technologies by an individual or group to repeatedly cause harm to another person. This may involve threats, embarrassment, or humiliation in an online setting. This includes expressions of discriminatory attitudes and beliefs such as sexism, racism, xenophobia, homophobia, transphobia, or ableist prejudices. It also includes online sexual harassment, cyberstalking, and image-based sexual abuse or other unwanted online conduct or of a sexual nature. Online harassment is also known as cyber aggression, cyberbullying, cyber harassment, cyber hate, cyber victimization, and deviant online behavior. It takes place in contexts such as social media, which includes Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, and others, SMS, instant messaging, via devices, email provider services, apps, and social media messaging features and email. So it covers anything digital, basically. Examples of online harassment include spreading rumors, ridiculing and or demeaning others, harassing others because of their race, religion, sexual orientation, disability, or transgender identity, seeking revenge, or deliberately embarrassing a person online, engaging in unwanted behavior of a sexual nature via text, email, or other electronic and social media, including using intimate images or recordings of another person impersonating others, even through their accounts with malicious intent, sending inflammatory, inappropriate, rude, and or violent messages, or comments about someone to provoke a response. This is the thing that was for me. This was specifically the point that it happened with me, was to provoke responses from other users, exposing others to unwanted or offensive content in digital groups or meetings. That was very specifically the experience that was going on with me. So I'm referencing everything on the show notes so nobody has an issue with this. So basically, I told people I made the definition there, and then I told everyone on my Facebook pages, and my online pages. Thank you for your concern and supportive messages. We hope to resolve this matter as soon as possible without incident. In the meantime, have 0 responses. Do not respond, do not engage, do not defend me, do not go looking over there, do not anything, because, I was tagged and my name was, like, all kinds of stuff. And something came out of that with the group of people that were reading it. But I didn't want my Facebook professional people to get engaged or respond in any kind of way. So I shut it down. I explained to them what was going on by putting out the statement. I let them know I was aware of it. I also let them know that I was talking to the appropriate authorities and that I do not want them to engage or defend or talk about. I don't care about any of that. Just let it go, let it be. So the reason this all came about is a family-related issue, which will be resolved soon, and I will likely be in a better position to talk about it to keep my lawyer from being distracted, from it. But at the end of the day, in a small synopsis, for me, my story is a little different than Nicole's. Mine was someone who married into my family, and I had 0 really anything to do with anyway. They were just vicariously through the marriage and knowing what was going on in my kind of life. So I made a comment on one of my Facebook pages to my friends on my personal page, my 88 actual real life friends and family, updating them on the situation that was going on in my family that was very real about a court case. And in there, I said that this person is complicit, which I have every fucking right on the planet to say if I feel and see and heard you through the walls talking about this shit that you don't know about, but I heard your ass. You are complicit. That is what that means. But they panicked and thought that that meant that somehow I was implicating them in the lawsuit and that they had something to do. No, I'm just saying you're complicit with the whole fucking situation that's going on right here. I see you, okay? So they try to use that as the excuse to start this. Is what they were looking for, an excuse to be able to lure me into some sort of. And for me, I just ignore, don't engage. Hey, come to my house, I'm gonna fight you. But ignore it, and all of that. So the day, in order to resolve some of the conflict that was going on, I remember I made the decision to move out. Me and my family at the time, we said, we're leaving. Nothing on this planet is worth this kind of nonsense. We are leaving, we are finding our own place, and then we will let the courts figure out the rest of it. The day that I left the day I was moving from that house, I was putting updates for my actual friends and families on my real home, my personal face, and I guess they were checking, or they had their flying monkeys checking. I don't know, but they literally were going onto my page, copying and posting everything from my personal page that my family and friends were looking at, taking it over to their business page that has all these strangers that I don't know and that they probably don't even know personally, and posting it and then tagging me on my professional page, but. The entire time I was ignoring it because I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Take yourself down that road. I don't care. You can say anything you want to say about me. I don't care if you call me the biggest crook on the planet and the biggest whatever word you need to find in the DSM to throw at me. I don't care. But there are 2 things that I care about. Stay away from my fucking family, leave my family alone, and don't fuck with my clients. Do not mess with anything that's going to mess with my clients. Those are the 2 things that are absolutely a no. Everything else, whatever, because my family and my real family, my real friends, my real people know me, and they don't care what you have to say about it. They know me. And if they need to put me in my place, they will. They don't need you to help them, right? So I wasn't concerned about it, but the people who were concerned were my actual nieces and all of their friends, which J-Rock is one of them, and all of their friends were watching this explosive, hostile, did you ever read any of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was hostile, it was wildly inappropriate, completely out of line, and it was almost like, if I scared easily, I guess it would have kind of freaked me out. But it didn't freak me out because it was so indicative of the kind of person I'm dealing with. And to me, I literally teach people how to behave with people like that in their lives and what to do. So this is, to me, and whatever, say what you want about me, I didn't care. But my nieces were getting upset. Their friends were getting upset. They were getting worried. And they were trying to tell me what was being posted. And I was like, what do you care? Like, if this person has the time to do that, what do you care? We're moving. We're happy. We have we're fine. We have, everything's going fine. But what was making them upset was that it was becoming more and more hostile, more and more attacking and personal. I never read it. They wanted me to read it. And I was like, I'm not reading any of that nonsense. It's just shit. I've seen worse. I don't care. They're just telling on themselves. But what was concerning them was the following. The people who were following and responding and agreeing with, and it was almost like, what do you call that, groupthink? And then like when the wilding happens, when everybody comes together and decides, yeah, we're gonna do this thing. They don't fucking know me,
Right.
And I was like, listen, the more upset they got, the more I said, stop listening, just have one person who's not gonna respond, listen, and if they find anything that I need to call the lawyer or the police about, you come and get me. Other than that, fuck them. I don't care. I have bigger shit that I need to. I'm literally moving today. But then they went and they copied a post that I posted about some roses from my father's memorial from the house I was moving from to the house we were moving to. I took my dad's roses because I bought them. It was for his memorial stuff.
Right.
And I took a picture of that and said some lovely thing about my dad and the roses. They copied and pasted that and turned that into some kind of ugly thing on there. And I want you to know that this isn't a Facebook page. This person's Facebook page isn't like my 88 cousins and friends like me.
Yeah.
It was like random ass followers that you don't even fucking know. Maybe you know some because you're interacting online with them, and maybe you know others, but you don't know all of these thousands of people that you're on there. So the inevitable happened, right? And so I said to my nieces and the people, I said, when you think it's getting to where I need to worry about my safety, or my job, or the safety of my clients, then you let me know. But I don't want to read it, I don't want to see it, because now I'm wondering where the person who should be stopping this, why they're not stopping this. Like, I'm worrying, like, why are you not stopping this? Because you know better, right? So finally they came up to me, they all come to the house, my nieces and their friends, and now they have lost it. They're crying and they're upset. Because apparently, now it turned into not just me, the personal attacks and all that. Now they went to my work. And they started talking about me as a counselor and that I'm a horrible counselor and how can I be counseling people? And everybody was chiming in and you need to report her and da-da-da-da-da and all to the board and make her lose a life. Like this whole, I forget what it's called, there's a word for this. When they do that, mob mentality. Yeah, mob mentality.
Yep.
And all this. So my nieces became concerned because somebody posted a picture about you want us to go kill her or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact words. But it was like a comment and it said the word kill. And so whether it was joking or not joking or facetious, you don't know these fucking people. Now they're going to know where I live and where I am because my name it's not like nobody knows who my name is. And it's not like they can't Google it. And you just tagged my fucking Facebook professional page, you idiot, So my nieces were very upset about that because now they're thinking people are going to show up here. They're now going to follow you where you work. And they got all upset about this. So I said, all right, here's what you do. Take a screenshot. And meanwhile, they were screenshotting the whole thing. I didn't know they were doing that. I didn't know. But they were screenshotting everything from beginning to end because they wanted to have it as,
Yep.
So I didn't care. So, but when that thing came up, and then with the thing about my license and all that stuff came up, now they really are mad because they know how hard I work and they know they know.
Right.
And then they also know that I'm incredibly protective of my clients. This is going to indirectly affect people who are already seeing me and are having serious psychological shit that I'm helping them with. And now they're going to be like, what the hell? They're not going to be able to miss this because you're tagging me and you're a known person in town. So somebody's going to tell them, something. So I told my nieces, I said, just screenshot it, send it to our attorney, let him decide what, if anything, because it's the wild, wild west online, so you just never know what your rights are, what they aren't. And he was fine until he saw two things. He was like, ugh, whatever, until he saw two things. And one was the going against my professional integrity and my professionalism and my license and all that kind of stuff. And the thing about killing and these people that I don't know posting. I think they posted like some kind of cartoon of somebody hanging or killing. I don't even know because I didn't see it, but it was some sort of graphic thing that somebody posted and they made a haha joke out of it. Like, this is content. Right. This is content for this online person with a bunch of people I don't even... So it's my profession and my clients and my family. So now you really messed up. So I called my attorney. He read everything and he called me back and he said, listen to me. I want you to hang up the phone. because I'm going to tell you what we're going to do, because there is a cause for action here, for sure. And we're going to do a thing. But before we do that, you need to call your local police department, and you need to explain to them everything that's going on, because I suspect that now it's gone into criminal. And I was like, how is that? How can this be criminal? And they were right. I called, and they called me back, and they read everything. They saw everything. They knew who the person, they saw who the person is. Why that makes it even more problematic, because this person is a person who thinks they have some sort of influence on people. And so if you think that about yourself, then therefore you know what you're doing and what you can incite without playing innocent, you know? So, and not only that, all these people on there are responding and whatever, and I don't even know any. Like, when I tell you mob mentality, that's what we're talking about. So I called the police. They did a whole thing, an investigation and whatever, and they said, yes, this is criminal. And they explained to me why, and that's the whole statement that I just read. Because legally, based on everything that they saw and they read, this is exactly what's happening, is cyberbullying and stalking. Because this person's going on your page and they're using that content to create hostility towards you, and then there's a safety issue. Not only that, but you're literally leaving the house so that you can get away from this thing, and they're still coming anyway, like on the day that you're moving. So that's the thing that the cops were like, oh no, this is obvious, this is you know, so they're like, no, we're gonna go over there, we're gonna talk to them, we're gonna, you know, whatever. And I was like, okay, well, hold on, because I just needed to know that, because that's what my attorney wanted to know. Then I talked to my attorney, and I said, I have 3 things that I'm very, very serious about right here. One is I want me and my family's mental health and ability to exist in peace to be left the fuck alone. And I mean in every possible way. And this is not it. This is not doing it. And this is just day 1 that I've moved out. So what's going to happen every other day that I'm like down the road, you know? Number 2, my clients and my professionalism. Like, what is that? Like, what the hell is that about? That where is that going? Like, what's the end game here? And then I forget what the other one was. And we're in the middle of a court case that you know about, and you're creating this nonsense when we're literally going to court for some other thing that's not even relevant to you, but you're upset because you think you're complicit. I said like, it was just it was just wildly inappropriate. So my attorney ended up sending a cease and desist letter to the place where they were living, that they didn't know that we knew where they were living. And then he found out, and he sent it there, and they got served with the cease and desist. But the thing about the cease and desist that was really important was that they made it clear that what the just cause was to file the lawsuit, libel and something else, I forget what it was. And it was the professional attacking my profession as a licensed professional counselor, and tagging me, and causing like that mob mentality, and then the killing thing. Like, that was the one thing that he was really upset about. That picture and everything, even if it was unjust. And so after all of that, it did end up getting resolved. But all of this just to say that the definition of what cyberbullying, cyber harassing, and all of that was sort of like new to me, because I'm not online like that. Like, I don't need to have a following. We've said this a million times. I'm not that person. More power to you if that's you. I'm on there if and when I want to be, and how I want. Like, it's a brochure for my work, like the work stuff, and then my personal stuff is for literally my family, my friends, who I actually talk to every day. You know, like, that's not my only communication with them, but that's what we do. So I was like, let's see where this goes. Then that person's attorney calls back, and the only thing they're upset about is that one little thing that I said about complicit, and how that's going to mess up like work-related sponsors and blah, 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 and that I started whatever. And my attorney was like, that's not even going to fly anywhere in fucking court. I'm telling you, his idea was, I'm going to your job and talk to your boss about what you're doing on this Facebook page that belongs to that, what is it called? That
like that.
That identity is that corporation. That corporation.
Yeah, corporation. Yep.
And that's what that was the thing, because you know, that's the thing, you gotta go straight for the jugular.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And so there was like, you know, back and forth and whatever, and then I agreed to like this one little thing I conceded to, and I in return requested never ever to ever have anything to do with me, my family, my family's friends, our friends, come near us, talk to us, find us in stores, walk the other way, like nothing, zero contact. And then the next month, what started?
There you go.
They started showing up at my niece's
showing up.
job
Yeah.
with all kinds of excuses as to why they could do it. And then that turned into a whole thing because it was almost like vicariously through my niece. I'm gonna.
Right.
And then my poor niece is at
Those
work, like,
coincidences.
yeah. Like, there's a million other, like, I didn't buy not one fucking ounce of what your excuses, because the first time and the second time, okay. But now we're talking months and you're still
doing it. Yeah.
and you know we're upset, we don't want you there. How do you think this person's gonna feel if they just watch you do this to their aunt, who they live with online? They don't like you and they don't want you near them now because they don't trust you.
Exactly.
They don't trust you in any kind of way, shape, or form. And then the idea, I think, was that they thought the store was going to take their side, and they didn't. They took my niece's side. And anyway, after a while, it all went away. It just morphed into other things. But that experience wasn't my first experience. My first experience was kind of like yours.
Right.
It was like the person who I was having a serious relationship with, their ex. And it was in Washington, D.C., and it was before internet and all of that. And the stalking and the bullying and the everything showing up at my house. I had to have this person arrested. They were in jail all weekend, and their mother came and got them and took them to Mexico. And then the person starts calling me from Mexico, and like it was a long process. That was my first experience with it, and it affected my job.
Yeah.
Luckily, in my job. Oh, the other thing I failed to say is that the person with the online thing, I preempted what I knew they were going to do, and I called my board, which is the state board, right? And I said, listen, I need to talk to somebody because this person is being wildly inappropriate online, and I have a feeling they're going to try to call you with whatever it is. So I just want you to be prepared. You do your job, but I'm just reminding you. And then what was said to me was, people forget that we're a board of mental health professionals, so we're going to know. We're going to be able to know real quick.
Yeah. Yep.
Whose behavior is what and why. And I was like, when they said that to me, they said everything without saying anything. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, just wanted to give you a heads up. And in fact, when my attorney sent the letter and the other attorney got back to him, he found out for sure that that's what she did. She did that. She fucking picked up the You know what it takes to figure out how to do that? Do you even know how to call your board? Like, you know what it takes?
Yeah, it took, I do, only because of some of the things I went through before, unrelated to anything cyberstalking, but it was not an easy.
No, it's not easy to do. So that means that this person spent a lot of time, energy, ruminating, thinking, whatever. And then what was your end game here?
Right.
You were going to call the board and say what? And do what? First of all, you're not my client, so you don't even have... Right. Only clients can do that. And like we can do it to each other because we know you're practicing in some like unethical way, and I know exactly what those things are because there's a code of ethics that we have to follow and all kinds of rules. This person just called to complain about whatever after they posted all this shit. Like, so basically all this nonsense, horrible shit that you just posted on your page is okay. But like this one random little thing I did on my page that bugs you, gets your panties in the wad, that's a reason to call my board. That's when my attorney was like, oh yeah, we're going to go after her. And she tried that, we're going to. And my board just thought the whole thing was, of course, they've seen this a million times. What do you think they categorized this as?
Right.
They know real people who really need to be reported for something real, and other people who are just revenge seeking or mean girling or whatever it is that they're doing. But that just showed me your true colors, because where were you going with that?
Exactly.
Like, where do you think you were going with that? Because I could have done that. I don't know. I don't like people like that. I don't want people like that in my life and my family, married to me. No.
Right.
So it worked out it worked out fine. Like, we worked it out, hashed it out. Then the incident happened with my nieces, and that eventually, after a bunch of months of fighting it, now everything is like, I don't see you, I don't talk to you, you don't see me, until we had to go to court for something else, and they had to be there. And then you know how stupid that was.
Yeah.
But the one in D.C. was the one that really gave me trauma. Like, it gave me a trauma response, because that one was, it wasn't online, so I couldn't just shut it off. It was like at my job, at my house, down the street, in my car, hiding in my car, hiding in my backyard, just banging on my window, having to call the police, like all kinds of stuff. Calling, and then I block it, and then you call from the next payphone, and then I block it. So it was like, that left me, what I didn't even realize, with a very, very serious trauma response to things. So that when I moved, and I went to Miami for all other kinds of things, little things that would happen with little noises, things on the door, people banging on the door, it just,
That's the
it
Yeah.
really,
That's the
it made me.
hypervigilance
And it took me a long ass time and a lot of therapy to get over that. And then this asshole goes and does this nonsense. And I'm not that same person I was in DC. I'm
Right.
I'm telling you, there's something that happens to you when your parents die. And you watch them die and they take their last breath in your arms. You really have to be, I don't know what, to shake me up.
Right.
It really has to be something.
Yeah.
And so otherwise, I'm just thinking, So that was my experience. Nicole's going to tell her story, and then we're going to talk about the proper and appropriate ways
Yeah.
to respond to digital harassment and cyber aggression and whatever it is that is being called right now. Because, some examples are spreading rumors, ridiculing, demeaning others, which was all happening to me, harassing others because we talked about that, seeking revenge to embarrass that person online, part of what was going on, electronic because it was never to me directly. It was just the whole other rest of the world.
Yeah.
So to me, that means you were trying to get other people to do and say and feel some
Right.
kind of way.
Yeah.
Inflammatory, inappropriate, rude, violent, problematic comments on unwarranted, and exposing people to unwanted attention like that. So that's some of it. And then we'll talk about the effects, the psychological effects. But
Yeah.
Nicole, you can
Well,
take the wheel, baby.
well, I think it's interesting. It's always helpful to hear things. One of the things that I took some notes and I was thinking, because I am actively in the position where I still go through the cyberstalking and the cyberbullying.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
things
That goes back to what I said about the comment
show
on YouTube.
no end
Right.
at this point, that I worry about my professional reputation as someone who is in school and
Yeah.
is pre-licensed, and the risks that I take. That I have to remember that, in fact, the board that will look at these things is a group of people who are mental health professionals who will understand and
behavioral experts.
yes,
like-
and
Right.
understand and see these things. And also, I want to make space for the reality, especially for people who go through this now, that it is not less intimidating or unsettling or often even triggering, even if you know and understand the behavioral impacts of this, the aspects that go behind it, even if you know that you are not the person that is in the wrong, even if you know these kinds of things and you can tell yourself these things logically,
Yeah.
the real emotional responses to these things may very well still happen. And I know because they still, in fact, in full transparency, happen to me. And I am not I'm not a fragile flower as it would be. And also, if you are in that fragile state, it's still okay to be upset about these things.
Yeah.
And it is okay to be cautious about these things, because they are often either the precursors to something that is legitimately dangerous, or they are designed to put you in a position where you are limited, you are hampered, you cannot carry on with a healthy and productive life. My situation is
because it's an assault.
because it is an assault. Because this is stalking is a form of abuse.
It is. It's abuse.
Period. It is a form of abuse.
It is abusive behavior.
And no matter how much we normalize it, because everybody's online now and everybody hides behind these identities and has this, we've kind of gotten a little numb to the reality of the situation, that it is abuse. It is a form of abuse.
It is
and
designed
must
to
be-
make you feel anything other than safe,
Correct.
anything other than okay, anything other than
Correct.
protected, anything other than confident, anything other than all of those things.
It is designed to limit you. And in my case, I come out of an intimate, personal, violent relationship that is really quite a bit in the past. Closer to 2 decades ago than it is anything else at this point. But was ended pretty dramatically and in fact caused me to do a variety of things, including change where I lived, the contact of all people that I had, and my job, my career, and even my name. And so I went through a period of about 12 years of rebuilding an identity.
In a safer place, away from
in a safer
the source.
place, away from where my abuse happened, away from, but also away from the underpinnings of what had been my comforts as well. All of those other things fell away.
Yeah.
I did not have a social media profile. I chose not to have one for my own safety at the time, even though those were coming on, until I moved from where I was, where I had resettled and gotten back on my feet, to here in South Carolina where I live. And then I was yet again leaving people. And one of the things that folks who are in intimate partner violence relationships, folks that are in abusive relationships, we have to move a lot. We have to keep a lot of distance. We have to keep a lot of tenuous relationships. It's very hard on you. It's very hard to be healthy and well and feel safe and secure when you don't get to have that firm footing underneath you all of the time. And so I made the decision to set up a social media profile, but a very protected one, when I moved to South Carolina. And for a good number of years, I didn't really have any problems. But I also didn't have, I had a public profile through my nonprofit work as an executive director. It was under this different name. And in South Carolina, my last name, Miles, it was not used. It was not on the legal documents. South Carolina would not take them. And so my old name was still on them. Now, this turned out to be, I would later learn, a little bit of a saving grace for me.
Okay.
So for those of you who are playing along at home and dealing with this issue, this turned out to be, the pseudonym name turned out to be a saving grace for me, and I did not know that. In 2021, I went through the legal system here to get documentation in South Carolina representing my name. Because as much as I didn't know it was protecting me, I also didn't want to be looking at that name anymore. That was an identity I didn't want to wear, right? There's lots of reasons to understand around folks who've been through this kind of violence that those identities, the things that we were, there's pain associated with that. There's embarrassment. There is grief. There is all of these things, and the opportunity to rebuild gets kind of pulled back every time you have to deal with this. And I did a lot of time having to explain. I'd explain to a board of directors who booked me an airline ticket to come for an interview why the airline ticket they had to book me on had a different name than the name that I had filed my resume under. I had to deal with things like my transcripts from school, right? This became very messy and embarrassing, right? By the way, this is all how abuse works, right? If we can embarrass you and intimidate you, we can also silence
discredit you.
Yes. And ultimately, we can silence you so that you do not tell your story.
Say that again, real loud for the people.
Yes. So the goal here is to silence you so you do not tell your story.
Because they have a narrative that they want people to hear and see, and only that narrative is real to them.
Correct.
Right.
So anything that contradicts that, your reality, your truth, and your experience is somehow an attack on them. So then you become the bad guy. So they have a narrative they're protecting that you don't give two shits about, but it's really important to them.
Right.
You know?
So throughout my growth process, which is a major reason why I have entered the mental health field, along the way I kept being asked to help other women. I helped starting to get them back, because also the reality is, if you go through the kinds of things, the way my story played out, which was that I did literally have to pack bags with 2 children. I was 8 months pregnant, and kind of disappear, start a whole life over again without anything to speak of except these kids, and rebuild, is that statistically, that's not going to go well. If you leave a violent relationship, you are 7 times more likely to end up back in another relationship, another violent relationship. You are also highly likely to be impoverished for a period that is measured in decades. You are highly likely to have the statistics are not good on what happens, and this is again, part of the reason why I do the work I do is because we often forget that. Like, we get survivors through this immediate period of time, and thank goodness we do. I'm so grateful for all of the people who helped me. But when that initial period is over, you're kind of cast back out into the big wide ocean, and then you have to swim on your own, and that's a pretty daunting thing
Right.
as you're injured in this way. So I was helping people, and I got to a place where I was asked to do some public speaking, which is something that I really loved doing. And so I did a TEDx talk in 2019 before I had my name legally changed. And then in 2021, I did a talk in San Diego for a group. And later in 2021, got my name change done. And 1 month after that name change was done, that talk that I gave earlier in the year went on YouTube.
And you got found.
I got found. So one...
And thus it begins.
And thus it begins. So one Saturday morning, again, this is 13 years after the worst of this story.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you might have noticed I've given very few details on, which is something that I always do, because I am not interested in the story of no one who's been in a violent relationship needs any details about what a violent relationship looks like, feels
Right.
like,
Right.
et cetera. There are lots of ways that happens. It's emotional, it's financial, it's physical, it's sexual, it's all those things. I don't want anybody comparing anybody's story to decide
Right.
if theirs is bad enough or not. If you
Right.
think you're in a violent relationship or an abusive relationship, you probably are. Because if it's come across your head, that should be a warning sign to you.
And let's be clear about what we mean when we say abuse, because our definition in the psychological world
Yes.
of abuse is very different than, like, say, the criminal world and that
Right.
kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not because one is any more legitimate than the other. We just have different guidelines that we work under.
Right.
For us, abuse isn't just you hit someone, you smack someone,
Right.
you threw someone down the stairs. It's financial.
Yes.
It's gaslighting to the
Yes.
point where
Yeah.
a person can't leave their house.
Right.
Confusing their role in their own life,
Right.
restricting them. Like there are very many different nuances.
There are a lot
Neglecting
of...
them, not
Yes.
allowing them to have food, like a lot of things. So you see people that'll say, "I didn't abuse them. At least I fed them, and I would."
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
abuse to us.
Yeah.
Okay,
These controlling issues of a person's autonomy in order to have an impact on what they get to do with their life is not a way to be in any kind of a relationship with anyone.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. But I gave this talk, and I'd given it months before, so I'd long since forgotten it, didn't realize it was even on YouTube. And I got a text message from the coordinator, and he said, "I just wanted to check and make sure you're okay. I wanted to let you know that I've shut down the comments." And it took me a minute because I haven't heard from this person in months. We were not good
Right.
friends or anything. And I'm kind of I'm trying to figure out what's happening. And I realized then who this is. And I'm thinking, why is this talk? Well, they've just released this talk. I had been found under my new name. I've also learned that had to do with public records. So at some point, we will talk about how you protect yourself in public records, because that is something that victims should know how to do, that I didn't know how to do, and I sure wish I did, because I think a lot of this would have been prevented. But what ended up happening was that my former relationship goes on under a pseudonym. And only uses YouTube, and cleverly only uses platforms that I appear on that I do not own.
Oh, okay.
That way, it puts the onus on the platform itself to deal with him. It also exposes me to a great deal more embarrassment, because I have to go deal with that platform to explain to them what has happened, and uses a pseudonym. And just rants about the dirty laundry that he feels is there based on our marriage.
Basically, he was abusing you online.
Correct.
At this point, we don't even need to know, like, the details.
Correct.
The man went
So-
on there after not being able to abuse her for years and years because she did all these things to put the boundaries on. He found her online, and then he decided, this is kind of legal because it's the wild, wild west, so I can do it in this way, and just completely rigged it all up again. And this is what she's dealing with. It's like now the abuser's back.
And this has gone on for 3 years. Now I made a new career as a coach, a public speaker, and now working through therapy, which means I do a lot of podcasts. I do a lot of public speaking, and every single time that I appear somewhere, I have to deal with saying, this is what may happen, this is who this person is, these are the proactive steps you can take. And we've had incidences. I had one podcast host who did not modulate the comments. And so we went
They
through
use the comments to get more
platform, right?
Yeah.
So 300
More
comments inside of 24 hours from someone all in caps who's ranting. To the mental health end of this, again, I want to be clear because I am safe. I do my work. I've had my therapy. I help other people. I understand all of this. And also, in full disclosure, even though he will hear it because he will be stalking this one too.
This is why we're doing this, because he was on the last one making comments about her, and I shut him down.
And when this happened the first couple of times, I sat on my floor and sobbed like an infant, terrified about what I was going to do, because all of those things that I had done in the past were coming back, and I had a child that was at home that's just under my care. I mean, there's all of the things that happened. We know things about women in abuse. Women are never more vulnerable in abusive relationships than when they leave.
That's the lethality.
Except for also if they strike back.
Yep.
So now I found myself in a situation where I needed to decide what to do.
Right.
I could strike back. Samara's obviously brilliantly had this plan of working on with people, but I felt very isolated. I felt very embarrassed. I felt very vulnerable. I was terrified for my child, that all of these things had happened, and I didn't really know what to do. And I did have a good friend who stepped in, thank goodness, and captured all of these comments for me so that I did not have to read them. If you are being cyberstalked from a wellness
Please
point
don't
of
read
view,
that shit.
do not read it. It will not help you.
No.
It will not.
And that's what they want. They want
But-
you engaged in that kind of
Yeah.
sickness.
But
don't do it.
I encourage you, as Xiomara pointed out, that someone not involved who is not going to have that emotional reaction,
Yeah.
to monitor them for you, because there are comments, there are things that can escalate that you need to know if your safety is
Or
at
the safety
risk.
of the people around you.
Or the
because
safety-
everybody in my
Right.
house was feeling like
Right.
they couldn't go to the car. We got
Right.
tased. Like,
Right.
what
Well,
the fuck
and-
kind of way is that to live? Like,
Right.
Vicarious trauma is a legitimate form of trauma. We know in our brains, if you want to have a trauma sidebar here, trauma is your brain being flooded. I tell people trauma is the hard thing that is not done being heard yet. That's why you feel so unhinged when it happens to you. And trauma can be a little thing. There's a small t trauma, big T trauma is what we refer to it as. Inside your brain, it is all the same. Brain is smart, but not perceptive. It does not know the difference.
it also doesn't care if you're happy. It just wants to keep you safe.
Right, right. It's just there to protect you. And so that flooding feeling is legitimate because it's what's happening, and you have to work through those grounding. That's the kinds of things that we do in therapy now, is try to help people work through those feelings because they're legitimate, right? And there was no amount of people reminding me that we are several states away and all of these things.
That doesn't matter.
People collected these for me. I did file police reports. I do keep records. I could not, again, I encourage people, even if you choose not to take other action, and I'm not an attorney, and I'm not a law enforcement person, so I'm not endorsing anything around those areas, except that I will say on behalf of other individuals who fall victim to this, that you need to keep records. And I also encourage you to at least open the police report. In my case, the police where I live did not respond as eagerly as I had hoped they had, even though there was a history and a documented history of other issues. There was a little bit of a wait and see, but there are also issues of crossing state lines, and there are lots of nuances to this stuff that aren't necessarily relevant to keeping yourself well when this happens, except that I will say, collect your information, file your reports, and don't stop talking
Yeah,
about
stop
this not being okay.
Right,
Because
don't normalize it.
your silence is what this is supposed to do. And I did go through a phase where I stopped appearing on the podcast for a while. And I've ratcheted back a lot of my public speaking a lot because I became so unwilling to put myself through that that I didn't want to have to deal with it. And I had to start making the choice of, was I going to pull back, right? Or was I going to push through?
Right.
And if my goal is to help people, I finally had to decide that I was just going to turn right back around and push through. And he's going to do these things, and I'm going to answer them. I am going to record what goes on. I'm going to keep track of the dates, the times, and everything. And then I will be able to respond accordingly should I need to.
And one of the things that you did that was really good, because we're going to bring this back to the cyberstalking. That's what we're talking about, cyberstalking and all that. So her experience was very non-cyberstalking at first. So eventually it turned out that's where it ended up, right? So that was her experience. Mine only ever was there.
Right.
That's where it started and that's where it died, right?
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
But in the end, the cyber bullying, the cyber stalking, the harassment, all of that inappropriate behavior is online. And so our thing is like, what do you do with that, right? Because there's so many, in my case, I was just lucky only because I'm in this field and I did domestic violence. I understand how this, like all of that. Most people are not, and most people would do exactly what you did and it's normal, or they would do something opposite than what I did, right? But at the end of the day, even when Nicole is doing anything and everything within her power to keep her world the way that it needs to do, this person can pop up online and do a number on you. That's really the bottom line. And so that happened a few times. So what Nicole did was really smart, and she did, is she wasn't silent. She told me, not with all the details on the planet, but she was like, oh yeah, you know me, and I knew. So when this guy came on my YouTube and tried to start that shit up again, unlike the other YouTube lady or guy who used it as content to go back and forth and up and down, and so basically you're re-traumatizing this woman for your own benefit, and also what the hell's wrong with you?
Like,
this was your sister.
So the goal is to make sure, of course, that there's never a moment of joy, success, etc. that's happening. And so I do tell, and that is one of the things that I think that
was perfect,
is that it is okay to advocate for yourself. I know it is hard. I've been there. I have done that. I've literally had to stand in my supervisor's room as an intern, as a mental health intern, and say,
and tell me all
about this thing.
Yeah.
But you know what? Even if you hadn't told me, because this is where I am in my life, because of my experiences in general, and also I don't like people that behave this way. If you think about a person, the kind of person that I like the least on the planet, it's those people that to your face they don't do shit, but behind your back and online and everything they seem to be, like badass or something, right? I don't like that. So anyway, even had you not told me, and he showed up on that YouTube like he did a couple of weeks ago after we did that. And the very first time that he even mentioned, first of all, he didn't even have to mention your name, but the fact that he did pissed me the fuck off. It pissed me off, because now you're singling a person out of 5 people on my podcast. Not only that, that's my staff person. I don't know you, you know, and how nasty what you're saying. So it's like, get off of my podcast. But either way, the right thing to do in that circumstance is to shut these people down. So my step was, I not deleted, I hid all of it because I didn't know if we were going to need it in the future. Hid it all, reported him, reported his channel, did all of the things that I needed to do, because don't bring that shit to my life.
Exactly.
Then I called Nicole and I said, well, guess what? And I told her, and she's like, and then we had a conversation about that. But all of this is to show you what the appropriate thing is to do to shut it down. So had I or you engaged with those people's behavior online, so when this person who did this to me, and all my nieces, this is one of the friends, Aunt's here, everybody.
Hi, Aunt.
He was one of the people that was reading and hearing all that stuff. If they would have engaged, if they would not have listened to me when I said, make sure everybody does not respond to her, don't do it. I don't want them on. They can read all they want. I'm not reading that nonsense, but don't let them, and they wanted to. Am I right?
Yeah.
Everybody was like ready to.
It's I think it's
They wanna
very
protect.
hard not to. And there was
Yeah.
a period of time in my life where I was really almost like I was hoping and praying, especially then by the time he worked his way back to my TEDx talk. And my TEDx talk has almost 100,000 views on it. It's one of the most proud things I've ever done.
And he sullied it.
And there were comments in there, right? And I'm trying to report them, but it's difficult to do that. I don't own that platform,
Right, right.
And so, like, to have some of the bright, shiny, the lift of that taken away was unfair until I learned this, and this is from the mental health standpoint. And again, for people who are victims of any of these things, whether it is actual abuse in person or any other kind, or whether it happens online, that shame is not yours.
Nope.
Right.
And the thing that derailed me the first time was that I picked back up shame I used to carry. And that is what threatened to derail it.
Yes.
And the reason why I tell now, and the reason why I proactively tell, is because it's not my shame.
No, it's not.
No.
It is not my shame that person independently chooses to spend his time slandering, trying to demean, trying to intimidate,
discredit.
me, to discredit,
Air your laundry.
yes,
Or whatever.
to
It
do
was
these
nasty.
things. It is not you. If you are the victim of this, this is not your shame.
It's not your shame.
Don't carry
And
it.
also, don't allow anybody around you to normalize that behavior or to minimize it.
Minimize.
Because that's the two things that I did not do. I did not let my nieces and their friends believe that this is normal, don't worry about it, it'll blow over. I did not say that. I was like, this is shit, but they're showing their true colors. But that's what they want.
Right.
Don't do it, because somebody of my caliber would never do something like that, no matter what you did to me. You're not going to see me online doing something like that, right?
Right.
It's also irresponsible, and it's also an entire family that's now publicly. It's not just me; it's everybody, including my father and everybody that you drag on. But at the end of the day, it was just the engagement that they wanted, right? Like the attention. But they were getting it from everybody else except the person they wanted it. So it just kept escalating and escalating and escalating.
Correct.
So the way that you shut it down is exactly what I said to do. Let them, because they're going to slip up. This is the thing about these people. They go and they go and they go and they go and they go thinking that they're not going to slip up, and then they're going to do that one thing that they just handed it to you. And they just handed it to me.
Yep.
And all I had to do was give it to the lawyer, give it to the, and then everybody, all of the friends, all of the nieces were like, okay, well, I guess we're safe now. Like, I guess that's because now all of this just to say that everybody's going to respond differently. People are going to do their stalking differently. This is never going to go away.
Right.
There's just some psychological breakdown in people that think that this is normal behavior, but they wouldn't come into your living room doing this nonsense.
It becomes well. Some of them would.
Some of them would.
Some
Yeah.
of them lived.
Yeah.
Some of us lived in
that.
living room with that.
Yeah.
The difference is that now this is a new living room for them.
Yeah, it's a new living room.
This is a new place for them to be.
I say turn that channel off.
I think
Yeah.
that you are, there's that point of you're not going to carry this shame with you. I also think that it is important that you do take it seriously.
Yeah.
That you don't let people minimize it, and particularly if you know. And I'm going to tell you right now, we know. You have been in rooms, you have all been in rooms where you've been with somebody and you think this is not good.
Yep.
Right.
And if you are getting that sense by what this is, I don't care if it's happening online. I don't care if they're under a pseudonym. I don't care how far you know they are away from you. If that is striking you as this is not good,
Believe it.
yes.
Yeah.
When someone, it's Maya Angelou's quote, right? When someone shows you who they are, you should believe them.
That's right.
And so do not minimize that. Take the actions you need to take to protect yourself within the scope of what you are allowed to do legally.
That is the best thing, and even most of them don't even really respond. In my case, I was lucky because they did. In your case, it's a whole different way now that they do.
Well, and there's choices. I have not exercised all of my choices in this yet, but that doesn't mean that I won't. And I think that's also important to know is that you don't. If you don't make the choice today or tomorrow to do something with that, keep your information, because if you need to change
don't
your
throw that
mind,
away.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
then
that, yeah.
you have rights. But the idea is to make sure, don't check your power with these people.
No, don't do
leave
that.
it behind. Do not let all of that stuff. It was all the things about not trusting myself anymore, not believing in who I was anymore. That will flood you. It will come back if you have those kind of trauma responses. It's okay. It happens. Get your help. Get your support. and then talk as hard as it is.
Right.
You know, and this is
But
like
talk to the right people, because some
Right.
people will weaponize it and then use it in a bad way that they
this,
shouldn't.
this needs to be your
Be
safe
real,
circle.
real careful who you let into your world.
Y'all,
with
this
your
is
shit.
what your therapist is for.
Yes, yeah. Your therapist, the people who got you six, like I always say. Like
Yeah.
there are people, you know, they got you six, and then there are other people that just want,
don't,
they just
yeah.
want the tea. They don't care.
Yeah.
Be careful of that. All right, so we're gonna move on just because the guys.
Yes, we want to make
have
sure
to
that
do
you
their
guys
thing.
get you done.
Gotta do things. So all right. So all of these unwanted behaviors. So at the end of the day, some of the effects that this behavior from other people brings onto you, if you are on the other side of it, right? It, for me, thankfully, this did not happen this time around, but it did happen the first time. And for Nicole, this is kind of what she's talking about. These kind of behaviors have a range of physical, psychological, and emotional effects, right? So some of them are stress, anxiety, and panic attacks, right? Loss of self-esteem, feelings of powerlessness,
Yep.
changes in sleep and eating patterns, hypervigilance and increased anxiety.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fear for
It's a big
personal safety. That was the only one that I was feeling, only because the people that were responding, I don't know you. I don't
Right.
fucking know you. You don't
Yeah.
know me. And if you're crazy enough to be online listening to some crazy lady say these things about me and responding and getting all charged up, then you're not good. You know,
Right.
yeah? So the fear of personal safety was a real thing for my family, for myself. Reduced academic and professional performance, which is a whole nother thing that happened. So I just want to quickly define what the womenslaw.org, according to them, what is cyberstalking, because that's what we're really kind of bringing it all
Yeah.
into. Cyberstalking and then the mental health aspect of it. All right. What are your smear campaigns? You know, I don't think I put that here. I think I just put it in the link. All right, well, forget that. Well, anyway, so we're going to talk about the smear campaigns and reputational abuse is what we were talking about earlier. That's what happened. That was my kind of cyberstalking that happened with me. So with me, it was all about reputational abuse, which is a form of emotional abuse. Most people never really see it coming. Did I even think that was going to be a thing? Not really, but it was, until it's too late, and then we did what we did. Anyone who's experiencing this, which a lot of people experience now, and it's just some kind of par for the core, you know? But if you're just a Joe Schmo down the street trying to live your life, and you're not some public figure, and you shouldn't be having like someone in your own family doing this, like
Right.
literally, this is important.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's reputational abuse. It's like a mean girl
Well,
thing,
and,
you know?
and you shouldn't, if you're a public figure. I mean, we see
It shouldn't happen.
we see celebrities go through this too,
Yeah.
and there is this kind of misnomer that like it's fine because they've put themselves out there. Abuse is not fine.
Right.
It really is not
Ever.
any kind of abuse.
There isn't a circumstance in which you deserve to be attacked
Right.
Never.
for doing nothing but showing up to do what you came to do.
Right. Right.
That's just not an acceptable thing
Yeah.
to do, and it's also, but it is acceptable to have a serious trauma response.
It is.
To check those boxes if it happens to you, and if somebody looks at you and tells you, "Aren't you over that yet?" The answer
No,
is
don't.
no, and that is bull, and those aren't your people.
Yeah.
You need to go find somebody who is.
So a smear campaign and reputational abuse is one of the things that I think people need to pay attention to. There's a YouTuber called Callie Sorensen, and she went through this, and now she's like a professional in mental health and, you know, all that kind of stuff. She talks about this a lot. And reputational abuse is a form of emotional abuse that most people never see coming until it's too late. When someone rewrites your story, which is what was happening to me and what they try to do with you, spreads lies, turns people against you, and makes you look like a problem, that's not gossip. That's not mean girl, that's not gossip. That is a smear campaign. That is strategic, that is controlling, that can be devastating if you're not in the right state of
Vigilant.
mind,
Right, exactly.
or you're a vulnerable person. So be aware of that. And there are things we can do about it. In my show notes, there's the whole transcript of that YouTube episode that she talks a lot about this. So I think that what I want to do now is kind of talk about what you can do when these things happen, right? Because there's always the Darvo that we talk about a lot,
Yeah,
right?
we talk a lot about Darvo.
When you fight back, then they turn it around. You're the bad guy. This is why I'm doing it. She deserves, like that whole thing. Don't ever buy into that.
Right.
But some of the things I think that we can do to protect ourselves is really, bottom line is stay offline. Like, just stay offline. How feasible is that? How realistic is that? It depends on who you talk to.
Right,
You know, it
right,
really,
right,
it really
yeah.
does.
Right.
A lot of people ask me why I didn't just make my personal Facebook page private, because fuck you, I'm not doing that for you. Everything that's on my Facebook page is nothing that I care about that anybody, it's not my personal diary, it's not my personal anything. If I want it up there and I'm putting it up there, it's for the people on my page. If you come on there to look and snoop, you're gonna find something you don't like, right? So I really don't care about that. What I do care about, though, is how people around me are affected by this kind of behavior. And I think, like, how you're affected, by people. What concerned me and what really knocked me off my feet and made me so angry was that the person who should have been putting their foot down about that behavior didn't do it, and he should have.
Right, yep.
That's number one. But more than anything else was watching my nieces, their friends, their little group of people, seriously. Like, when I tell you, it was like vicariously through me.
Trauma.
So basically, you didn't affect me, because I'm like, you're a joke. Like, who's going to take you serious? But they're affected. But now I'm upset, because now innocent people that have nothing to do with none of this nonsense you're saying about me are watching you do this, wanting to respond. I'm not letting them, wanting to whatever. And so the dilemma becomes, well, hell, I wanted to stay out of this, but now I guess I gotta do something, because none of these people are being affected by it.
And there are reasons, right, to stay offline, to do these kinds of things. Also, if it's expected, you have work that you do that's online. If you want to choose to be online, I do want to honor that the fact that you've already been a victim of someone's abuse, and so many of us have modulated our entire lives. I love what I'm doing now. I love what I'm doing every day. But I am certain that I would be in the career I was in before. I didn't willingly give up my life, my identity, my church, my community, my friend. I did not willingly give those things up. I had to in order to keep myself and my family safe and protected and rebuild my life. To the degree that you have to take down also your access to keeping people close to you, to having social media, I'm on the fence about that a little bit, because I feel like really these people should not be, they should not be running, the animal shouldn't be running the zoo. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And so, yes, but also, you shouldn't necessarily have to sacrifice
I think at
that.
the end of the day, what's going to keep you the safest, or at least the sanest, and protecting your peace is to do not engage with these people. When I tell you disengage, when I tell you disengage, I mean disengage. I mean do not read, comment, talk about, acknowledge. Not like when I say they don't exist, they don't exist. That is to keep your own sanity. I want to talk about some tactics of reputational abuse, because that's kind of like where you're going with this.
Yes, it is.
So reputational abuse, like I said before, it's the intent of it is less about you and more about them keeping the reputation and the narrative that they want to keep. That's really what that's about. So tactics of reputational abuse. Let's talk about how this shows up, because it's not just about public shaming or viral call-outs. It can be loud and obvious or subtle and strategic. Some overt tactics include lying about you to your friends, your family, coworkers, or spiritual leaders, people in your community, accusing you of things that you didn't do, cheating, abuse, or being unstable, posting about you online, sometimes vague. That vague posting shit is a trip to me. That's a whole thing. Get a therapist. If you're vague posting, go get a therapist, okay? Because I'm not reading your shit. But I know people do that, So sometimes it's obvious, other times it really isn't. Emailing your boss, your clients, your therapist, which was what happened to me and what's kind of happened to you. Emailing people that they know to warn them, right? Isn't that what happened with Farrah? Or act as if they're concerned. But it's calculated, it's all calculated. Threatening to expose your private information or history. Labeling you as manipulative or narcissist, that was a big one for me. They could not have publicly commented about how narcissist I am. It was so transparent. Like, it's almost like, it was so comical to me, It was like, okay, dude. All right, so labeling you as manipulative or narcissist or dangerous. Twisting the story and positioning themselves as the victim so that you look like the abuser. That's the Darvo. Some of the more subtle or covert tactics may include saying things to others like, I'm just telling you this because I care about them. I'm worried about them. In a tone that you can see that there's doubt about that. I doubt, like, they want you to doubt that person's ability to believe, for you to believe in them.
Right.
All right, so another example is telling people they're not doing well, I'm worried, they're really unstable, you know, they're spiraling and they're breaking up. Like, it just goes on and on and on. But what I really want to get at is that there's no one way. They're going to try to discredit you. Again, that's what's happening to us.
Yep. What
happened to us. They want to discredit you, especially if you speak up for yourself and you stand. They don't like that. They do not like that.
That's right.
You are your own person and you have your own opinion. Discrediting, rewriting a story before you can tell the truth. The preemptive damage control. I saw a lot of that. Preemptive damage control. If they smear you first, no one will believe your side. That's kind of the thinking. If they do it first, no one. Also to isolate you from support if they can convince others that you are the one that's problematic, unstable, toxic, dramatic, abusive, you suck at your job, you're counseling.
Right.
You shouldn't be counseling all that. You are left alone and isolated and people are easy to control. That's what they do. And when you can't be controlled, that's a problem. So how do you protect? The main thing with them is that they're trying to protect their image. That's why they invest so much time in that. So.
Well, they want to protect their own image, but a lot of times there's also, you know, in the case of my stalker at this point, and ex, their name has never been mentioned.
Yeah.
I have a different name.
Yeah.
You can't find that person's name. I've never mentioned the state this occurred in. I've never really given any details about this.
Yeah, but don't you think that that's something they worry about? Don't you think that's something that they don't like?
I have no doubt that they worry about it. In fact, one of the comments that was shut down was that I had fictionalized the job. I had to give some details in this once the first speech I was found in, that I had fictionalized the job that he had, and it was, quote, to make myself look good.
Yeah. Well, again, it's about damaging.
Right. It's like this is a tactic we use when we speak about abuse and our abusers, is that we fictionalize so that we don't tie back to that individual person. But these folks have such control issues.
Yeah, they control, and abusers are highly invested in looking good, especially to outsiders. That happens to me. Their public image matters more to them than the actual experience. Smearing you is going to help them with that. Okay, we're going to move on because these guys have to. They have to do their recording. At the end of the day, I think in the show notes, everything that anybody needs to know about it, they will find it. What I'm saying in all of this is that abuse using technology is very common. Nobody's above it. We are not above it. Even the president, the good presidents, are not above it. Presidents use it to abuse others. We have one of those right now. So it's not that we can escape it. I think that some of the things that we need to do personally, just personally to protect our own pieces, in my opinion, the best thing that can happen is if you can disengage as much as possible. Then, like Nicole says, there's a lot of other things that are legal and pragmatic and important for you to do. But the number one thing you need to do is maintain your sanity. And however you do that, you do that. So there are going to be a lot of resources and references on our show notes about this so that people don't feel like, okay, so what? Now you told us the story. What do we do with it?
Can I give you a resource? I don't think it's on your list because I need to make sure that I add it. There's a volunteer organization called SafeEscape.org.
Okay.
Safe Escape is a fabulous group of volunteer white hat hackers.
I love that.
They work specifically with victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, who are now being engaged in cyberbullying, cyberstalking, etc. And they step in and use their very sophisticated.
They're like anonymous.
I
love anonymous.
For victims. They are a totally volunteer organization.
That's cool.
Which also means they need lots of support. But these people do this because they care about what happens, and they're using their skills to make this right. There are skills you can use that would be a whole other episode, but these folks are worth looking into if you are actively in danger like that, to engage their help. There are people here to help you. They are one of them. Certainly getting therapists who are trauma-informed, who have backgrounds in understanding how stalking, how abuse works, how
Yeah. Don't let your best friend tell you what to do, man. Go to somebody who knows how this works.
Use those folks. But yeah, and this is not your fault. It's not your shame.
Not your fault. All right, guys. So we're gonna wrap it up because really
Yep,
the guys need to record. They're on a schedule. Anyway, thanks for listening to us. I know this topic can be very complicated, very long, very upsetting. Everybody has their opinion of it, and we will do other episodes on different versions of this so that people aren't just left hanging on the different variety of ways that you can help yourself, help a friend, avoid it, fight back, whatever it is that works for you, we will talk about it. And there's different kinds of cyber bullying, like racial cyberbullying and all that kind of stuff that we're seeing right now. All right, guys, good night. Thanks for listening and take care of your mental health. Bye. Thanks for listening to the X Podcast with me, Xiomara Sosa, clinical mental health counselor, licensed professional counselor here in South Carolina. We hope you enjoy our real conversations about all things related to mental health. You can check out our show notes for reference, resources, and other show-related information. If you found value in our conversation, we encourage you to join us weekly as we discuss different mental health topics. You can head over to the X Podcast website at www.studiotalkpodcast.net and send us a message from there, as well as sign up for our newsletter. Our email address is studiotalkmentalhealth@gmail.com. You can also subscribe to our podcast and leave us a rating and review at blueberry.com/studiotalkmentalhealth. And send us a text or call us at area code 843-695-9974. Please recommend our podcast to your friends, colleagues, family, and networks. Thanks for supporting us.